Knicks Summer League is officially over with a 94-85 loss to the Wizards, but Dink Pate, Mohamed Diawara, and more showed a bunch in the finale and throughout all of Summer League. So I've got final thoughts on all the Knicks Summer Leaguers right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome into Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I'm Alex Wolf, I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, that you can find at thestrict.land. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So on today's show, the Knicks have finished Summer League. A 94-85 loss to the Wizards on Saturday sealed it. And yet we all know the most important thing about Summer League is how the players played and what the individual performances show you about what they could potentially turn into. It seemed obvious the Knicks as a team were not the most cohesive unit in this Summer League, but their individual players showed some really good stuff. So I'm going to talk about Dink Pate and what he showed in the final game and throughout all of Summer League. Thought he really scaled up as Summer League went on. Mohamed Diawara, I think, showed us a lot of things about what he could potentially be. James Naji, I think, had some moments as well. Tyler Kolek had some not as good moments. And even the guys that didn't end up playing in the finale, like Kevin McCuller, Mohamed Diawara, Ariel Hukporti, some thoughts on them as well going into a very important offseason for a lot of these guys. Because I think if the Knicks get some depth out of some of these guys that were just in Summer League in this next regular season, that's going to be huge for them. But first, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making this part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. All right, so let's give some final thoughts for some of these Knicks Summer Leaguers. So Dink Pate, I boiled all this down to like one sentence for each guy that I thought would kind of sum things up based off where I'm at personally with these guys after this final Summer League game, which, by the way, apologies, the other day I was advertising the last game, the previous, what I thought was the last game against the Pacers as the finale for Summer League, not realizing that they were going to add a consolation game against the Wizards on Saturday. So sorry for the false start there, but for real, this time Summer League is over. But Dink Pate, if I was going to distill it down to one sentence for him, the Knicks might have gotten in on the ground floor with a really good prospect for once. And, you know, I'd say for once, because I think that the Knicks under the Leon Rose regime have mostly targeted older players, players that have at least a couple years of college experience already. We saw that kind of start with Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, like those guys, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, you know, just guys that were at least sophomores that had some, you know, experience already. They weren't afraid to go after older rookies. And then we're seeing that in the most recent years, they were sort of splitting the diff. Like in last year's draft, they took two older guys in McCuller and Kolek, and they took two younger guys in Diawara and Hukporti. And I think maybe they're starting to see now that maybe those younger upside bets are a little better to go for with the current state of the team, where like you've got a good veteran squad already that just made the Eastern Conference Finals. And you see all the time that all it takes is one late pick to hit on a team. Like, I mean, I look at like Christian Brown on Denver, for example, where, you know, he got taken later on in the draft and made an immediate impact and has been a huge difference maker for them. You know, so I think the Knicks maybe are looking at that. And now, granted, he was a little more experienced of a player too. But, you know, my point being, all you have to do is find one difference maker, either later in the draft or undrafted, develop them right, and then you might be able to home grow some role players or even better to potentially, push your team forward and do it without having to woo a big free agent or whatever. We just saw. I mean, I'll touch on it in a minute when I get to the Kolek section, but the Knicks just missed out on Marcus Smart, and now it's like, okay, who are they going to go for this other veteran that they're trying to sign now, because they seem fairly zeroed in on Smart from what it seemed like from some of the reporting. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Dink Pate, I think the Knicks made a really good move by picking him up, getting him as an undrafted free agent, getting him in their summer league program, and hopefully now they get him in their two-way, one of their two-way slots, and get him in their program period and start developing him, monitoring him, giving him what he needs to hopefully be successful, because the raw tools are there. He had 20 points, 10 boards, 3 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, shot 7 of 12 from the field and 4 of 7 from 3 in the finale. I don't know if I fully still, I expressed this after the last game too, or the last couple games, but I don't know if I fully buy the 3-point shot with him. It looks kind of wonky. It just happened to go in this game, but hey, man, sometimes guys do have weird releases, and it does work long term. So we'll see if he ends up being one of those guys. But no matter what, I think that he showed a lot of promise. He's a phenomenal athlete. That's thing one. I think that he did plenty to show that. Just the steal and dunk in the finale where he just played the passing lanes well, picked up a steal, got out in transition, throws down a windmill, does a little smirk at the camera. I mean, he's kind of got a little bit of everything. He's got I feel like the right mentality, in terms of, just working hard, but also being confident in himself. Seems like he pushes his teammates. Like, he also, I mean, he was asking for the ball a number of times during summer league, which I feel like there was a certain passivity there with some of the other guys where I didn't see them like clapping for the ball. And look, if he's doing that when he's on the floor with Jalen Brunson or something, then maybe you go, hey, pump the brakes a little bit. But I like that during summer league. I like him, pushing to try to get better, to try to get some on-ball reps. I think the Knicks recognize that, and they put the ball in his hands consistently, let him try to create for others. I think the handle needs some work. I think that his timing as a lead ball handler needs some work. But all in all, the Dink Pate experience was a good one for me. I think that you got to give him a two-way deal. I think that, I've said this a number of times too. I'll keep saying it. The way I look at him is he's a guy that I think will be really valuable in practice. I think that he's going to push everyone to be better, because you could just tell that he does that already, even just on the summer league stage. I think that he's going to be one of those guys that the veterans will probably kind of hate, but in like a good way, where he's just going to be nonstop energy during practice, going to be pushing them, defending them hard, when it's just 5-on-5, scrimmages or whatever, that he's going to be the guy that's up in people's jersey, trying to make them, have to actually try against him. And I like that sort of energy. So I'm down with the Dink Pate experience. I think the Knicks need to lock him up to one of their 3 two-way deals. And then the other guy who I think had a huge presence during this summer league was Mohamed Diawara. And this one's probably the spiciest take that I'm gonna drop here for this roster of mostly guys taken in the the 50s or whatever in the draft, or guys like James Naji that haven't made it over to the NBA yet, even with being taken early in the second round in his draft year. But my take for Diawara is this guy has potential to be a $100 million+ player someday if it all works out. And that's, if things work out to like the 100th percentile, that's conservative. He had 9 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, shot 4 of 11 and from the field, 1 of 5 from 3 in the finale. But I think it's safe to say everything needs work for him. So I'll temper that kind of bold statement about how much he could potentially make over the course of his career by saying everything needs work. The handle's a little loose, and he's a bigger guy. He's I think listed at 6'9" or something like that, with like a 7'4" wingspan or something like that. I would have to look the numbers back up, but he pops on screen for how big he is, and yet the handle's a little loose for if you want him to be like a secondary or tertiary playmaker. Even at the NBA level, he's going to have a hard time. He's just He's keeping the ball a little too loose right now, but all in all, like, looks pretty good for a 20-year-old of his size, like, to be able to handle the ball that well. So he's got to keep working on that. The shot isn't consistent yet. I mean, I just mentioned 1 of 5 from 3 in the finale. Did not shoot particularly well from 3 in summer league overall. So I say similar to Dottier, might just take a little getting used to the NBA 3. I think that he's probably, I mean, he's definitely been shooting the European 3 for his whole career, the FIBA 3, which is shorter. So it takes a little getting used to for guys that come from that league or those leagues to the NBA to get used to the longer NBA 3-point line. But I think the form looks good. I think I feel pretty sort of similar to how I did with Pacom last year. I feel pretty solid about his ability to figure that all out. And I think he needs to find a new gear on defense. Not to say that he's not trying hard, because I think that he did a really good job at times during summer league, but I think that he needs a little more aggression, I guess, and a little more understanding of how big he is to get a little bit of rim protection in his repertoire, because he's definitely got the size for it. He pops on screen consistently. I would look at the screen and I'd have to see the number on the jersey before I could make a full determination between him and James Naji, because they both just look huge on screen. But James Naji, I expected that from. Diawara, I was not expecting him to look so huge on screen. But he's a large individual with a really big wingspan. I think that there's a real chance that, like, he could get some center minutes and actually be like a ball handling center, which is crazy. Now that's where it comes into, if this all works out and this is like the 100th percentile outcome, but like this kid could basically be like a taller, more athletic Draymond Green, possibly with a better 3-point shot too, if that comes together. But I mean, that's obviously huge, lofty goals. That's like a multiple time defensive player of the year, multiple time NBA champion, but you can see the outline with Diawara, and it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of refinement. It's going to take a lot to go right for him. But if those things do go right, the sky could be the limit. I mean, some of the stuff that you see with him, like, I mean, he just turned 20. There's a small chance he's not done growing yet. So even for how big he looks right now, he might even still get a little bigger. A lot of guys, particularly like NBA athletes, depending on if they were early bloomers or late bloomers, but they'll keep growing potentially until like 22, 23 years old. That's just like normal. I mean, even as a normal sized human, I kept growing until I was like 21, 22 years old. But some of the passes he was making just were insane. Like, I think that you could actually make a case that he was the best passer that the Knicks had at Summer League, which is a really big compliment considering like Kolek was there, and Kolek is still a really talented passer, even if he had his struggles at Summer League this year. But I think Diawara, like some of the stuff he flashed in terms of cross court passes that he was able to snake around people, whatever, just really high level stuff. I say with him, give him the second round exception, give him the main roster contract, lock him in for a longer contract for 4 years, just like you did with Kolek, just like you did with Pacom on his rookie deal last year. Lock him in on that longer deal. See what you got with this guy over the course of the next few years. Because if you start seeing the outlines of that like Draymond Green type player at the NBA level, you might have found the steal of this draft. And again, this is all if things hit on the highest level possible. It's entirely possible that he just never really makes a huge impact in the NBA, or that he maxes out as just like a situational role player or whatever. No matter what, it's all found money at pick 51. But I think the Knicks really have something going here. But they also potentially have something going with James Naji. I'm a little worried about Tyler Kolek, if I'm being completely honest. And I want to also talk about some of the guys that didn't get to play in the finale and just some final thoughts on them. So I'll get into that in just a moment on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to let you all know about our friends over at Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And the one thing that I noticed when I started tracking spending with Monarch is all the little subscriptions. I'm really bad. I fully admit it with the oh, I'll cancel it right before the free trial ends type guy. And I'm prone to losing track of that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden realizing like, oh geez, I've been paying for something that I just wanted to try real quick for like 2 months now. And I didn't even realize it. There goes like 15 bucks or whatever. Well, luckily Monarch Money has helped me eliminate some of those and track my spending better, help me budget a little better, and make sure that those subscriptions get canceled when it's time to cancel them. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code Locked On NBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code Locked On NBA for half off your first year. All right, folks, we're back in to keep breaking down Summer League performances. I think I've gotten my two favorites from Summer League out of the way, Dink Pate and Mohamed Diawara. Definitely those two, I think, popped the most to me this year in terms of guys that I think potentially have a bright future, or at minimum, I think are worth some investment from the Knicks. James Naji, though, I think made a good impression on me as well. I think he's my one sentence take for him is physically impressive, but needs a lot of seasoning, needs a lot of work at the whatever level. I would say probably the Westchester level, and then some practices with the big Knicks. I think that he. Well, so first off, final stats in the final game of the summer league: 4 points, 11 boards, 5 fouls. The fouling definitely needs some work, but 5 offensive rebounds in just 24 minutes. So that's a good thing. Definitely fits the profile of what the Knicks like in a big. They definitely have a type, obviously, with Mitch, who predated the regime but has stuck around this whole time, and then Huck Porty, who they took last year. Now Naji, who they acquired in the cat deal, his draft rights, and now look like they're potentially ready to start including him in their plans for the future. But I had this thought while I was watching him in the finale, because there's inevitably, when we've gotten to watch Mitchell Robinson for so long and watch him grow up as a player, and the Knicks seem to be targeting guys that are similar to him, you're going to start drawing comparisons to him. And as I was watching James Naji in the final game, I was trying to think like about where is he in like the Mitch cycle right now. And my takeaway was he's like second year Mitch physically. Like I think that he's very developed physically. He looks huge. He's got grown man strength. He's big, got the wide shoulders, whatever. You could see the outline of like this guy has the physical tools to be a really good NBA center. But I think actually skill wise, he's got more of like a raw version of rookie Mitch, where you could see he's well intentioned with some stuff, but he's still just like he's a step slow on certain stuff. So where we saw Mitch with like that supernatural ability to like block threes and everything during summer league and pick guys up wherever he wanted, didn't really see that with Naji. Like Naji was more like it seemed like everything was a half step off with him, and like the processing wasn't quite there yet. But when you saw some of the physical gifts and the things he was able to do, like picking up guys full court, getting pokeaways on guards, and managing to pick a guard up full court and actually disrupt them, that's pretty impressive stuff for a center. So like sort of has some of those like raw skills like rookie Mitch did, but needs a lot more refinement in my opinion than rookie Mitch did even. But then mentality wise, and this is like could be construed as a bad thing, but I kind of think this is a good thing. I think mentality wise, he brought sort of like high school gym summer mixtape Mitch, where we always see Mitch like willing to try like point guard skills and like shooting and all this other stuff during his little like summer workout videos that he's putting out in like a high school in Louisiana or whatever. I feel like we saw some of that out of Najee, like in terms of some of the passes he was trying, some of the things he was trying in the post, like just different like little push shots, whatever, things like that. I think there's good mentality there where he's willing to experiment, and especially at the summer league level, I like when guys are willing to kind of put it out there and try different things. And I know some guys are playing for their lives, but in the terms of Najee, it's like he's got a second round, he's a second round draftee. You figure he'll probably be part of the Knicks plans, although I mean, Knicks did draft Jokibitis with a second round pick and brought him for Summer League from Europe and never ultimately signed him. So maybe there's not a guarantee there, but considering that he fits more of a profile of what I expect the Knicks to go for, I feel pretty good about Naji ending up on the Knicks in one capacity or another. I'm thinking probably with one of the two-way contracts, but I think he's worth investing in. I think that there's some stuff here that is worth looking at because he could give you a Mitchell Robinson type player if everything works out. But again, I think there's more work to be done with him than I initially thought in the first like couple games where I was kind of on board with potentially giving him the second round exception that I now really want to give Diawara instead to be on the full roster. I think maybe it's worth hedging a little more with Naji. But speaking of like potential two-way guys I think should probably be on a two-way contract. Kevin McCuller, my one sentence hot takeaway with him, not even that hot. Probably did enough to earn one of the two-way deals. That's it with him. Only played the first two games, went out with a bang in that second game with that 30-point performance. I have questions about whether the shot is going to be good enough. I have questions about whether he does anything good enough at an NBA level to eventually be an NBA player. Like if he kind of gives a little bit of like jack of all trades, master of none. That said, I think worth investing in with at least another two-way deal. See what you can get out of him. I think that at minimum, if you find yourself struggling with some injury woes during the year or whatever, he could be a potential call up on a two-way deal to come and just sop up some minutes for a few games, do a little bit of everything. Again, even if he doesn't do it all particularly well at the NBA level, you at least give him a shot and see if he can. And maybe he surprises you. But I think that he showed some good off dribble creation in that second game. Obviously, getting to the free throw line, he was really good there. So definitely worth giving a shot to. But I still got to touch on Tyler Kolek, who I'm maybe a little more willing to sound some alarm bells on after the finale. Paco Mdadie, and Ariel Hukporti, who called it quits early in the Summer League, but I still want to just give some final thoughts on Marjon Beauchamp, Anton Watson. So yeah, still a number of guys to get into in the final segment. So I'll be right back in to get into all those guys. All right, so let's wrap this Summer League up. So Tyler Kolek. Whew. All right, one sentence thought on him. Here's hoping we can throw away Summer League results because it was not pretty this year. Last year, Gavin and I were gushing over him. We were like, oh, yeah, this dude probably can win some backup minutes this year. This guy's good. Like the passing looks amazing. Yeah, the shooting percentages weren't great, but at least he was giving it his all for every minute. At least he made some clutch shots. Like he did some breaking down of guys off the dribble a little bit, even if it wasn't perfect, showed a little bit of a mid-range game, whatever. This Summer League, man, I mean, the shooting was still not good. Finished Summer League shooting 32% from the field and 17% from three overall. It finished the final game with 7 points, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from three. Did only play one half. So that was what he was able to put up just in the first half. But the concerning thing to me is that we're having like quotes from Chris Brickley make it out, which got brought up on the NBA Summer League broadcast, the NBA TV broadcast, that, essentially like things are going to be Chris Brickley being his trainer, of course, but the quotes are like, oh, he's going to be all right. Don't worry about Summer League. Like he'll be better at the NBA level. He's already shown what he can do at the NBA level. I'm like, has he? Like he had a couple nice minutes in garbage time last year, but also had a number of minutes where he didn't look good in garbage time last year. So like, has he really shown that he can produce at an NBA level? I don't know. Like I was really looking for him to make more of a statement in this Summer League and say, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to potentially step into a backup role because it's pretty well publicized by lots of people that I trust certainly in the, in terms of Knicks people on the beat and people that are connected, that the Knicks are looking for another ball handler. And that was pretty apparent with their pursuit of Marcus Smart. And the fact that they just missed out on him, I think now it's more imperative, if they're not able to add another ball handler, that Tyler Kolek be prepared to potentially sop up like 10 to 15 minutes a game this coming year. I think Clarkson, you can reasonably run for a couple minutes at point, but you might not want to have him running all of the bench point minutes, because then you'll also probably want him to be able to play on the floor with Brunson for a little bit too. So in that case, you might need like 10 minutes out of Tyler Kolek on an NBA floor if you're not able to find someone else to fill that void. I don't know if I feel like he's there right now. I know that summer league is just summer league, but like again, 32% from the field, 17% from three, and he was trying to make those shots, like, and maybe trying too hard, but I mean, a lot of the threes, particularly in this last game, were wide open, and he was just clanging them. We saw obviously the turnover issues in the early games where it kind of looked like like, I don't know, was he big timing a little bit? Like, did he think that he maybe didn't have to play summer league this year? If that's the case, then that's worrisome in and of itself, because he didn't really prove much his first year, and like he was sort of the team first guy last year. Like I really enjoyed like hearing from him after every game. Like he seemed very very much like a vocal leader for the team. This year it just didn't seem like that same mentality was there, at least not like body language wise and how he was conducting himself on the court. So I don't know. I don't want to ring too many alarm bells, but it's just like the training camp and preseason are going to be really big for him if he wants to potentially carve out a role this year. And being that he's going to be 24 this year going into this season, the clock's kind of ticking when you're that old of a second year player. Like you got to prove something sooner than later. I don't know if we're there just yet. I want to quickly just touch on Mohamed Diawara. Quick one sentence thing for him. Still work to do, but he might find playing time this year on the Big Knicks. Only played that one game and fractured in the second with that toe injury he sustained. Never came back in after that, but shot crazy good in that first game. He looked more comfortable on cuts. The 3-point shot looked way more comfortable. There's nothing too much more to say other than there was a report from Fred Katz, the Athletic, I think on his podcast, saying that he's hearing that Diawara's like internal shooting metrics that the Knicks have from practice and whatever are blowing people away in practice, and that his numbers are really, really good and very similar to like how Deuce McBride's numbers were before he kind of blew up, where, their internal metrics are saying like a breakout is coming for this kid. So, hey, that's good. I like to hear that. I think, he's just got to keep up the good work. And, I think that the process will pay off for him. Might even get him some minutes this year if he's able to start hitting those shots at the NBA level and, can have the defense translate and all that. So keep it up, Paco. Again, he doesn't really have anything to worry about. He's on a rookie deal. Um, the Knicks can obviously choose to opt out of that deal in year 3 or year 4. I doubt they'll do that. I think they're going to see this deal to term and make sure that they figure out what they have with this kid, unless of course he, is part of a trade or something. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings this year. Same with Huckporty. My main takeaway for him, he's an NBA guy. Just looking forward to seeing more of him this year and seeing him back up Mitch. I think he's ready for that. I think there's a chance that he even starts offering you something a little more in terms of like his offensive game, his floater game, whatever. He's got really good touch there. So looking forward to seeing more of Huckporty this year. Marjon Beauchamp, he turned me around a little bit on him, but I'm still not totally sold. To me, and I know this can catch like hate in YouTube comments or whatever, I still think he's mostly an empty calories guy. Just watching him, I mean, the first couple games he was kind of hijacking and not making shots, and then games 3 and 4 he managed to make some shots and had the like 30-point game or almost 30-point game, 25-point game, whatever. Had a couple multiple like high 20s games, and I still just came away thinking though, like, yeah, but he's kind of just empty calories scoring and mostly just looking for his own shot. It like, I don't want to be too harsh on it because he's still a young dude. I hope he lands on his feet like I do with any player. But there's a reason a guy like Cam Thomas of the Nets is currently sitting unsigned, why multiple guys like Colin Sexton have been salary dumped this summer, and, had to have like picks attached to them and whatever. I think that these sort of like just empty calories scoring guys are becoming less desirable. And, if you're not providing three or four things as a player now, like if you're scoring, but you're not also being a willing passer and you're not also providing good defense and whatever, it becomes a little harder to justify having a guy like that, particularly more like shooting guard wing type players that are just offering that. And I just didn't really see much other than the scoring out of Beauchamp during this summer league, which is why I'm probably not making that investment in him again. I also don't know for sure if he's still eligible for a two-way contract based off NBA service now, and I'm definitely not looking at him for like that final main roster spot over someone else, like a Mohamed Diawara, who also Diawara can be signed using the second round exception, which Beauchamp can't. But even with all that aside, I don't even know if I would have him, even if he's eligible, in one of the two-way deals, because I just think there are other guys I'd rather invest in. But good summer league for him overall. I hope that it was enough to get him a contract. If I'm the Knicks, I give him an Exhibit 10 deal, bring him to camp. The Exhibit 10 deal allows you to pay someone more to be with your G League team. So pay him, a little extra to play for the Westchester Knicks, and maybe he tears it up there and you bring him up. Maybe it's a Trey Burke sort of story. But I'm just not totally there. And then Anton Watson, I thought on him, he might be a shooter, but that's about it. Again, just another guy that I came away being like, is there enough here? Yeah, I think he was doing a pretty good job of connecting, making the extra pass, but also he was the recipient of the extra pass a lot and made a bunch of threes in the final game. 21 points, 5 made threes in the finale. So that's cool. I think I'm more invested in some of the other guys that the Knicks could potentially give their two-way contract to than Anton Watson. So same deal with Beauchamp, like Exhibit 10 deal, bring him into camp, and then hopefully give him a deal to stay with Westchester for a bit, let him develop there. Maybe you change your mind and, cut someone else from a two-way and sign him to a two-way partway through the year. But I just don't necessarily know if I see it with him, especially compared to some of the other guys. So my final thoughts on the last roster spot and the two-way deals, I would give that second round exception deal to Mo Diawara. The only guys that the Knicks hold rights to that are eligible for that right now would be Diawara, James Naji, or the aforementioned Rokas Jokovitis, which just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Though I wish they still would, if I'm being completely honest. Like, you want another ball handler, you have a kid drafted who's got years of European experience, who I thought was pretty good during summer league last year, but whatever. I, I guess they're just not interested for whatever reason. But yeah, I would probably give that second round exception deal to Diawara. That puts him on the full roster, locks him up for a longer term deal. I think he showed enough skills worth investing in during this summer league that you can say, hey, if things start taking shape during that rookie deal, then maybe you can get him on a value contract for his next deal, for his second contract in the NBA, and then have him really develop by the time he's, like 24 years old or whatever, develop into like a potential like starter all defense guy, something like that. I mean, there's a lot of potential for this kid. So I say lock him up and then give Dink Pate, Kevin McCuller Jr., James Naji the two-way deals. I think those guys are well worth it, and it's well balanced then too. You have two multifaceted like guard wings that can handle the ball a bit with Dink and Kevin McCuller, and then you have Naji, who's another like Mitch and Huck Porty sort of looking dude that can learn under those guys and possibly get some NBA minutes. Who knows? But yeah, he's got all the physical tools. He's just got to kind of put it together on the court. But that's it for summer league. Maybe Gavin and I will talk about it one more time. Just give some final thoughts together because I covered these last couple games solo. But now, for real, summer league is over. So thank you all for checking out our summer league coverage. We're gonna have more NBA coverage. We got some more player reviews from the regular and postseason that we're gonna get through. We've so far done Mikhail and OG and now that we're about to hit the long part of the off season, we'll be going through some more, looking through the past season and a bunch of other good content for you guys. So till then, thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.